Super restful night here. Don't worry, I didn't make it near as much of a mess as it looks there. My stuff's just a little spread out. I am currently doing coffee in my morning video edits, hoping to get going around 8 or so. Really, really quiet night. Surprisingly chilly in here, but you know, that's what a sleeping bag's for. So the contact here is the previous pastor. Super nice lady, and she brought me some carrots and other things to eat last night, which I really, really appreciated. She also brought me this, and I always like trying things. I'm appreciative of anything that's coffee, but that has a lot of caffeine. See me, I would almost rather drink half decaf because then I could drink twice as much, and I love my, warm coffee in the morning. Just trying to make sure I'm fully cleaned up, not leaving a trace, and then getting out of here. A lot of miles to do today, and my glutes, the road walking tends to do a number on them. I think I'd be better at this after all this time, huh? It is always a little bit difficult to walk away from whatever slight bit of comfort I get out here. And today on Masochist Limping Across West Virginia, the Amish. I sometimes see kind of insensitive comments on the YouTube videos saying, oh, well, these churches should have opened their doors, Christian kindness, yada, yada. Personally, I am super grateful when one of them does do something like this, but I do fully understand the flip side because sadly there are enough people who thru hike that there are good folks, there are people who aren't quite right in the head, there's people who suffer from what I would call main character syndrome and seem to think that the world exists just for them and they will use, whatever they want despite whatever inconveniences or misfortune it causes others. And the closer you get to civilization, the more issues like that you see all the kind of long-term transients causing issues at some of the AT shelters. There is a church in Florida that they built an entire building so hikers could come and stay there. Really cool place. And they've had to ask people to leave because people like me show up, stay for a day or two, and that's one thing. People will show up and stay for 2 weeks, sometimes claiming to be injured or other things. Don't mind me, I can walk up a hill. I ran into one guy in 2 different states, though, that said he was recovering from various injuries and was doing long-term stays in those sort of accommodations. I've started referring to folks like that as trail adjacent individuals. They're not doing the trail, they're just taking advantage of resources people offer because they think people doing the trail need them or could really use them. On the AT group a year or 2 ago, there was somebody who was asking for a drive across multiple states. In the AT group, people assumed they were thru hikers. They weren't. Again, they just knew that those trail angel resources existed and were taking advantage, which is really a shame. This is why I go over the top, trying to thank people for what they're doing and trying to basically use a bare minimum. And that was partially why when I was staying with Brian, I was getting so unsettled having to stay there multiple days. I've just seen so many examples of people taking advantage. I don't want to be anywhere near that level. But anyway, huge thanks to Antioch UMC. That is the second UMC church I have stayed at. And again, just really appreciative. And it was a unique experience getting to camp out in the chapel for me. Today is basically all roads, aiming for 20-something. I have some folks who are going to pick me up on the far side so I can basically do however many miles I can get until a certain time of day, at which point they pick me up, resupply, shower, which I kind of need after the last couple of days. And I'll just stay with them overnight. That'll be basically a complete reset. I find, if anything, I stay in town too much for my taste because I'm always looking ahead and I'm like, oh, I don't think there's going to be a hotel for a while, so I want to have everything fully charged so I can have the biggest runway possible to be able to get as far forward as I can. And then it turns out there's more opportunities and I start grumbling about how I've been in too many hotels. I am feeling just the slightest bit nauseous this morning. I'm not sure if it's better or worse than yesterday. It's probably just paranoia because I had to use that filter, hopefully. So I really don't want another round of whatever that was. The other good news is while camping has been very sparse post CNO up until here, that looks like it's going to get better going forward. There are campgrounds, there is trail miles where I can actually camp, there are set campsites, there are potentially dogs that I don't know if are leashed or not. Okay, looks like they were behind a fence or something. But as far as I can tell for the next couple of days, it's just going to be the challenge of climbing a lot of hills. I am currently at about 1,100 feet since, starting at 0 in Delaware. Apparently once I get to Dolly Sods though, I'm going to be doing like 4,000 feet a gain. That will hurt a little bit. I am going to build in a little extra buffer as far as my daily mileage and just do what I can do. Theoretically, there's also a good amount of downhill in there somewhere. my knees have held up to all these adventures, but sometimes only barely. I don't take them for granted, and that's why I use the trekking poles even when I just want to walk along with my hands in my pockets. Dog encounters like this I don't worry about too much. I do back off and walk on the other side of the road usually. But his tail's wagging and he's just letting somebody know I'm here. You never know when that bark's coming from a pit bull or something that have charged off the property, and I've only barely escaped being bit before. That church did have running water. The lady warned me that, oh yeah, the hot water smells like sulfur. And she was not kidding. Flashbacks to Florida. But I had actually been carrying a fair amount. It was enough to get me through the night, and there's another one of those springs up ahead I'm gonna plan to fill up on for the day. It's just not worth trying to scrimp by on water. I don't want to have to walk off trail just because I've been out of water for the last couple hours. I also don't particularly want to be carrying a gallon of water on my back, but there you go. At least it's a resupply day, so I'm down to dregs. You can no doubt hear the wind on the microphone. The biggest downside of filming off my phone. It has gotten noticeably colder, and the temperature for the next 2 nights is going to be dipping down into the 30s. So it's probably a good thing I didn't get rid of my down pants and down socks for going across Dolly Sods, because that's kind of like the Smokies on the AT. It's just known for being colder than the surrounding area. And I am all for it staying colder. I can layer up easier than I can layer down if it's really warm. Plus, as long as it's cold, I'm not going to have the mosquito hordes or other bug issues, which are no doubt coming somewhere. So this is the first of the 2 springs today. Because I have had access to water, I am of course not that thirsty. So I'm probably going to carry till the next one. Oh, it is nice to see Pip Springs. One way to get water pressure. Really enjoying the terrain. Shame it's all no trespassing private property. So many abandoned houses out here. Theoretically abandoned. At least one was actually occupied, I noticed. Well, damn. Guess who just walked past the second spring? Far enough, I'm not going back. I should be fine, but that's slightly annoying. Since I tend to spend a lot of time hiking out west, even these days, I'm more used to having to be a lot more careful with my water carries. Also, when I was initially talking to Bob Palin, and he was describing some of the route on road as being little country roads, this is pretty much exactly what I was picturing. There are certain types of communities that have me on edge because I've had bad run-ins, bad experiences. Nothing but positive around Amish and Mennonite, though. It is just a little patch of farm heaven out here. Oh, baby turkeys. Oh, once again, if only Taters were here. Hey guys. So that brown post there is ADT signage, though some of the emblems have come off. Plastic only lasts so many years in the sun. And after 30 some miles of paralleling this mountain, or ridge, I'm finally crossing. Oh, that's a little better. Oh crap, that's not a good sign. I take it that explains the blasting notice I saw. That ridge line of windmills is the mountain I was paralleling for like 30 miles. 4:30 and I've actually hit my 20-mile mark. That's the Indian Head campground, which looks like mostly an RV campground. Jerome and his wife are going to come get me. I'm going to continue on though until they do. I'm just here kicking off an in-reach since I haven't had cell all day. I'm going to make as many miles as I can in the meantime. Wonder what that's all about. Jerome came out and found me at 6:30, giving me time for a solid 24-mile day. He drove me into town where him and his wife have a house they're trying to sell, bought me some Mexican food, which tasted just awesome after more than a week of barely being able to get food down, and then took me to a grocery store for a quick resupply. Once we were back at his house, I got a shower. He had a new water filter for me, which was a big weight off my mind, and I was able to do laundry, setting me up quite well for this next section, which, per everything I've been told, is going to be a lot more remote and wild. So see, because Jen's not with me, I can do what I want, including using Tide Pods. And once again, I am being massively spoiled. The visits and places I've stayed on this trip have been really unique compared with my normal thing. And tomorrow, onwards to Dolly Sods with unfortunate amount on my back. Home sweet home.
This weekend I came out to one of my favorite places that I haven't been in a really long time, Red Rocks, Nevada. And we're gonna be hiking up, scrambling up the back of this peak right here on the right side, Mount Wilson. We just topped out of this canyon here, the First Creek Canyon. And now we're headed up on rocks up to the summit and taking advantage of every little piece of shade for breaks because the desert sun is really intense. And here's the top. The one with the snow on it over there would be Mount Charleston. Here's the Rainbow Wall, Calico Hills, and the monstrosity of Las Vegas.